Guys, welcome back to our Adventure Expert series. If you haven't joined us on one of these videos before, it is a little bit different to the rest of our videos. What we do is we sit down with other adventure experts, and it's designed for you guys to get advice and information about the topic that we're discussing.
Yes, hopefully this will be educational and inspirational for you. Like Leah said, it is different, so it is longer format, and is also available on our podcast on iTunes, link up there. Go check that out if you would rather listen to this conversation on the go. Today we have a rather exciting guest. Leah, would you like to introduce him?
We're talking to Tom Summers today, and we're going to be talking about retirement or adventures after retirement.
Life 2.0. So this is not just of interest to the more mature audience, and we know you're out there, we see the analytics. It's also interesting to anybody who's thinking about having adventures in retirement. So if you are kind of like 30 and up, this video will be of interest to you.
Yeah, guys, feel free to also comment and give your advice down below while you're listening or watching, so we can all learn from each other.
Yes.
Enjoy.
Well, I'm Tom. What can I say? I'm retired and I'm having a lot of fun in life.
That's
This is
good.
why we retire.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so how old are you now?
I'm 70.
70 years young. And right now we are on a beach in Mexico. This is not the first beach in Mexico that you've been on. I guess you've been adventuring like off and on throughout your life, right? So let's talk a little bit about your early adventures. What was your first kind of stint into travel?
I've had the wanderlust for all my life, and after I got out of the Navy in 1967, I had a chance to go sailing on a small homemade catamaran, and we sailed down from San Diego to Costa Rica.
Wait there, Tom. You're leaving out quite an important detail, because I know a part of this story because you told me last night. That first sailing trip, it wasn't like, you know, when people think about sailing with like all of the modern like technology and GPS, you had 2 charts.
Which you didn't know how to read until you got on the boat.
I knew a little bit about navigation, what we call dead reckoning in the Navy. I was in the Navy prior to that, and it was during Vietnam, and it was we all know what the 60s were like, and this was a chance for some of us to get out and about. I met these chaps, and we struck out on a journey on this small homemade 27-foot catamaran. We left San Diego, and from day one managed to figure out how to use the sextant, how to convert the readings into a position on the chart, and we caught fish. And I began to learn Spanish. That was a wonderful year.
So that was kind of like the start of your adventures after the Navy, and that kind of like started your career. It got you into fishing eventually down in Central America, and eventually you kind of got sucked into the corporate world, right? The real world.
Yeah, you know, life intervenes. I thrived on these boats. I ended up doing that for the next 11 years. And from there, more jobs materialized. Along came my son, Carlos, and I just needed to work close to home and raise my kid. Mm-hmm. And that's what I did.
So you worked really, really hard before you retired, up until retirement.
I would say I worked hard, but I also loved it.
Yeah.
It was on the water,
yeah.
And that was something that has always appealed to me. My dad used to take me fishing, and so I've spent my life as a mariner,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and I still consider myself a mariner.
Yeah. So that's kind of a key message right there, is if you can spend your life doing something
That you love.
that you're passionate about,
Mm-hmm.
you're much more likely to enjoy your working time. I mean, work doesn't have to be difficult. It is for some people, because some people find themselves doing jobs that they don't like to do. But if you can align your passions with your career, then because you're going to spend a lot of time working, right?
Yeah, and I can't even imagine toiling away in something that I despised. Um, in fact, to be honest, I'd probably still be working for that tugboat company if I hadn't had a spat with management, and I just basically decided that, oh, I'm old enough to take my retirement, collect my Social Security.
Yeah. So that's what the main topic of this conversation is about, having adventures after retirement, and should you wait for retirement to have adventures, or should you have them, beforehand? And
Right, because a lot of people think that, oh, when I retire, that's when I can start living life. I mean,
yeah,
that's a bit of a gamble.
No, you need to have all of the above. You need to, well, I need to season my life with travel, and of course I was able to travel during vacations and leaves of absence. I took several leaves of absence from my work. That's the beauty of working for a larger company that has a union labor agreement, which I did, and was able to take time off, and I had plenty of fun adventures during my work years.
yeah,
But now I get to do it full time.
yeah.
What would you say to somebody that, say that was like 45 years old and had their eyes on retirement and, big adventures planned for retirement, but had their head kind of like down and they were knuckled down to working at the moment?
Everybody's situation is unique, but don't postpone your dreams. That's what I would say. And in a way, I have done exactly that, and so I'm speaking from experience. I had this vested retirement plan, which kind of meant that I had to stick with it in order to collect on it. But I also took plenty of opportunities to travel and see other parts of not just the United States, but outside.
So these days, tell us a little bit about your adventures these days, adventures in retirement.
Well, I feel it's only just begun, but I also have to say that I only have the here and now. And so I'm doing as much of so-called adventure traveling as I can. I still have some property that needs tending to, and I've got some other affairs that need to be looked after, but I'm down here in Baja California, lower Baja California, enjoying life, and that's the key.
I'd like to point out too that when we say like going on adventures doesn't have to be like big trips down to Baja or big trips around the world in your RV or whatever. It can be just little trips.
That's a
on
really
the weekend
important
to go,
point.
Go down to the local creek for the weekend or the week or whatever. It's like doing things like that.
Adventure's a mindset, right?
Yeah.
I mean, adventure can be, I'm going down to the creek to go fishing.
Yeah.
That's my adventure. That's me going out and having an adventure for a day, an adventure for a weekend, or it could be crossing the world in a Volkswagen.
Yeah.
Whatever is your cup of tea. Like it's not about having to be in Mexico.
So when you having adventures after retirement, there's going to be a lot of people that are either coming up to retirement or thinking about that, wanting to do their big adventures when they retire. What are some of the things that you were thinking about coming up to retirement that you needed to plan for this big adventure, or your plan after retirement? What were your kind of concerns?
Well,
doing that?
It's a shame that we have to put financial concerns before everything else, but obviously a person needs to have a few things in order to take off. And for instance, online banking. Thanks to the modern ATM things, you no longer have to pack a lot of cash with you. And I do like to stay connected. A good means of doing that is important, and also that plays into the security aspect of traveling and remote places, is staying connected.
With regards to preparations financially, do you think it's feasible to travel on a pension, like when because you don't have a job anymore, like you're not earning a salary every week, and so your incomes come from any assets that you've got currently. So first of all, let's talk about pensions. When you come and visit somewhere like Mexico, let's talk about your example. Do you think that you can actually afford to travel and explore Mexico?
Yes, I do, and I guess my message is that don't work and save up so that you can travel on this level that you think you want, but rather reduce your needs so that it conforms to the resources that you do have. Now, I was lucky. I had a great job, and I was able to get out of the workforce alive and have some, assets, bills paid, and certain. But I don't have a lot of wealth, for sure. My wealth are my experiences.
Yeah,
And you're
I
a
like
rich man. If I can get to your age with the experiences that you've had, I'd be very happy.
Yeah.
I'm on my way.
Yeah, we are. We've already had a few little adventures.
Yes, we have. I just want to dwell on the finance thing, because I think a lot of people they build up this nest egg. They work really hard to get their house, everything throughout life, and then when you get to an older age, I'd imagine that you're kind of worried about how your last years might go, and if you might need care, and medical concerns become, increasingly on your mind. How do you feel about all of that?
To ignore them would be foolish. To obsess on them would be foolish as well. Just this morning, I contacted a dentist friend of mine in Cabo San Lucas looking for a referral. It's certainly possible to find very good health care outside of the borders of the United States, and I don't think that should hold one back.
If hopefully this doesn't happen, but if you did get sick, would your plan be to return to the States and try to deal with it there?
I think that would depend on the exact situation, how close adequate care is to wherever I'm at.
Yeah.
And I always keep all the options open. It's definitely something to think about, but good care is available universally. Everybody wants it, and the demand means that there's a supply.
And being out of your home country and traveling, like what are some of the things that you need to do to make sure that you keep yourself healthy and the best?
Well, I'm not the picture of health.
I think you're pretty healthy.
Yeah, I feel great. I think in my case, traveling in the bus means that I eat better.
Yeah.
And it involves a little bit more activity, which is good. So travel, it promotes good physical and psychological health.
Yeah.
I think so too, yeah.
There's how do you feel about traveling in a Volkswagen?
Well, I've done it before, and it's one tends to make a lot of compromises in far as comfort goes. But traveling as a single guy, a Volkswagen bus is enough. I have all my basic needs.
Yeah.
I've got a cooler. I even travel with a portable toilet, which I try not to use. Technology of camping has advanced considerably, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Sure has. I mean, you seem pretty comfortable in this bus.
Yeah.
I wonder how many 70-year-old guys are waking up in Volkswagen buses around the US right now. Probably not too many.
Probably a lot of people that would like to.
There's probably a lot that would like to.
I got my first bus in the 60s, and I've had a number of VWs.
Oh, yeah.
I've had a number of VWs in my life, and This particular bus I acquired when I was 50 something.
Yeah.
And worked on it for a couple of years to get it into the condition that it would travel reliably. Aside from actually blowing up an engine, which I understand you have some experience with.
I have a few, yeah.
It's only a couple.
Yeah, just a couple.
Couple of
But okay, so that takes us to the universality of these vehicles.
I was hoping we'd talk about this because you're travelling in a VW, and that statement I said earlier about how many people are waking up around the country in a Volkswagen, not that many, because a lot of people tend to just kind of baby them and take them to shows and look after them, which is great because they're old vehicles and we want to keep as many of them alive as possible. But boy, is it good to see you, driving down the road, going exploring, having adventures in your bus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those folks that are using their bugs and buses just to go to shows or just around town to have a little fun with, I respect that. And I've done a lot of that. I mean, I don't think a lot of those folks, as much as they love their bugs and buses, really have thought about how they would do it the way I'm doing it, which is pack it up. And by the way, I've done this in a bug as well. Pack it up with camping gear and take off.
I hope that people are inspired by seeing the likes of yourself and us going on adventures in Volkswagens, because as pretty as they are and as good as it is to look after them, I think they're kind of like adventure vehicles. They're born to be adventure vehicles. They're happiest when they're on adventures, and that's the way that you really go and make a memory with your Volkswagen, is to take it out and go exploring. You're also seriously considering getting a boat, right?
Yes, I am. Yes, since retirement, since not being on the water every day, I've realized that I need a boat.
You miss it.
Yeah, I miss it, and my son wants me to teach him sailing and teach him the ropes, so to speak. And so we're looking for a boat.
You're certainly fit enough to be able to do that now, and I mean, in 10 years' time, who knows if you'll still feel like you want to be doing it. And 10 years goes like that when you're not careful. So I think
the past 10 years certainly did.
Yeah, it did for me too.
Well, that's why we want to talk about this, like to bring it up, because it's not, the older you get, the more your body's going to be unable to do the things you want to do, the things you're passionate about, and your dream journey.
And you're not likely to be in better condition later.
No, definitely not.
So do it now.
Do it now while you can. Make the most of it. Let's talk a little bit about the house. And so in order to afford a boat, you now have a house, that's your equity. You're considering, tell us about how you're thinking about planning that.
Well, I'm thinking about moving out and renting it to make a boat payment. I've got sufficient funds for a nice down payment, and I certainly have some ideas of what I'm looking for. It'll be a sailboat. Not sure if it's going to be a catamaran or a monohull.
You'll let us know if you need a crew, right?
Absolutely, and I will need a crew.
I'm coming sailing with you, Tom.
I understand you have some experience.
I have a little experience.
Oh, he loves getting the anchor up, don't you? Yeah, that's your favourite job.
You'll get one of
Pulling
those
the anchor.
windlass things.
You have to do it by hand. I was impressed.
Seen these guns? So the sailing life for me, as long as it's not too rough.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting that you're, quite comfortable with renting out your property to make the payments on a boat. There's a lot of people, after they've spent their entire life building this nest egg, my mother included, I've mentioned this to her, like, why don't you rent the place out and go traveling? And she's like, no, I've spent so long, like, that's my home. I'm not letting other people
Well, that's
live
the thing.
there.
Some people are like that. They don't want to. When they retire, they want to sit and enjoy whatever, being at home or being
God
in the
bless
comfort
them.
of...
I mean, retirement isn't about what you should do. It's about what you want to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And even though there are plenty of folks like your mom, we wouldn't have seen the mushroom growth of things like Airbnb if it wasn't for the simple fact that people have a home, they want to travel. This home can be the means to travel. It can earn you some income.
Yeah.
And I don't think people should forego their traveling dreams just because they're chained to a piece of property.
Yeah, because a lot of people are chained to that to property.
Yeah. I think people get used to it. You know, they're chained to it with their mortgage all their life, and then once they're free from that and they own the property, they're chained to it in other ways. You know, even if it's emotional attachment, and that's totally fine. Like you said,
Totally fine.
If that's what you like to do, retirement is about doing what you want to do. Whilst we're taking a little break, guys, just let us tell you about something we've just started on our website, kombilife.com. We have a store there with all kinds of awesome and very unique Volkswagen gifts. So if you're still working and you would like some awesome Volkswagen cufflinks, or you perhaps would like one of our new t-shirts, we've just expanded our entire range. So be sure to check out our cufflinks, our t-shirts, and our very unique handmade Volkswagen wallets. We know there's something in there for you, so please go and check that out and buy yourself something or a gift for somebody else and support the Kombi Life YouTube channel. Now, back to the conversation.
Okay, so just to wrap up on the conversation, because we just want to like drill home.
There's a few main points, right?
A few main points, but just we want to like recap on like some of the people's fears about doing adventures after retirement, and like what stops them from doing it, even if they do, you know, they have this passion and this dream to after retirement, I want to do this.
Also, the key takeaway is don't wait until retirement to have the life that you want to live.
Yeah, of course.
Try to, even if you're not able to give up your career and you're somewhat stuck with your circumstances, find a way to incorporate elements of the adventure and the lifestyle that you would like to live in your lifestyle. Don't just work 7 days a week. You know, take weekends off and go fishing if that's what you want to do with your time.
Yeah.
That's such an important thing, because I think too many people gamble that they can buy their freedom later.
Yeah.
And by waiting, and that's just.
Yeah.
They say that the biggest regrets you will have in your final days are the things you didn't do.
Yeah.
That you always wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
to go out and do it now as soon as you can.
So the main things that stop people from having adventures once they do finally retire and they have all this freedom are financial worries, health worries, and security worries. So from the financial point of view, travel doesn't have to be that expensive, you said, right? You live within your means.
Absolutely.
There are ways to use the equity that you have, that you've built up in your life, to fund adventures in Life 2.0.
Exactly, and I recognize I've been blessed, but I'm determined to get out there and stay out there in spite of a nice, comfy home and all the comforts that are afforded to us in the land of the free.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about Mexico, right?
Yeah.
The land of the free. The real land of the free. And so the other point
what America could have been.
Yeah.
Make Mexico great again. And so the other point
health.
About health.
So is insurance an important thing to make sure you have?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I have the Part B of Social Security. I don't even know what company it is. I've used it one time. But I think you can get quality health care here and in a number of other countries for less than what it'll cost you just for the copay up there.
Yeah, that's true. So health shouldn't really be a showstopper.
No, because as I said, it's not likely to get better later.
But there are people that have conditions that need to be either monitored or they need to be on top of or whatever, and that can play a big part as well. But if they're living like that in their hometown, they can live like that anywhere as well. Just being prepared and making sure that you're prepared really.
Yeah, and these adventures, you know, going off, whether it's in country or out of country, it doesn't have to be for a really long period of time.
No.
It can be, and actually, personally, as a long-term traveller, I recommend to people to keep their trips short because it keeps your interest up. And it keeps the fatigue factor away.
Yeah.
You know, it gives you a chance to recoup. You know, even if you did say rent out your property to fund a lifestyle on the move, you could go and take your RV or whatever you had to an RV park, which is pretty much like having an apartment, and you've got all the amenities, and you could live there whilst you're at home. You know, you don't have to be back in your house. So that's not really a showstopper either.
It's all doable. We see that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people. I mean, I'm at the vanguard of the so-called baby boomers, and there's going to be more and more of us, and a certain percentage of us are going to just be doing this, getting out and about. Start with whatever you're comfortable. A night, a weekend, a week. This particular jaunt of mine is started at the beginning of this month, and I'll be returning at the end of the month.
And so probably the third big showstopper for people is fears of security. And we talked a lot about safety and security in other episodes of our Adventure Expert series with Aidan and even with Aaron on the Pan American Highway video. But from a more mature person's point of view, I'm not going to say old, Tom. I'll say more mature.
You're not old. Mature.
Superannuated.
Sometimes I think he's younger than me.
Yeah.
But from your perspective, what's your take on the kind of security fears that people have?
Gosh, I don't know that I'm the right person to answer that question, but most of those fears are unfounded. They're unrealistic. It seems like every time I cross the border, and by the way, I've been crossing the border, the U.S.-Mexican border all my life, all my adult life. It seems like as soon as I get across the border, I'm no longer even thinking of security. Obviously, we all want to be safe. And the human instinct is to protect yourself under any circumstance. But it's not. My message to those who haven't done this is try it. You'll realize that many of your concerns were unfounded. Well, the thing is, it's just not any different.
It's being at home
than where you're from.
No.
No.
Yep.
I think this is true. So the finance, the health, and security, none of those should be showstoppers, even though those are the three main reasons why people would not go on adventures.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we talked through all of that. There's obviously a lot we could go into on each of those individual points, but you know, now that the people that are listening have realised that there's no excuses for not having adventures in retirement, they can go out and
not just adventures, but living whatever they want to do, doing whatever that they've dreamed of doing their whole life, or and they couldn't get to do it because they've been working their whole life.
Yeah.
But what is some advice that you'd give even to like us, people our age that aren't retired yet or not really thinking about retiring yet? Have you got any advice as to?
I don't know about. See, everybody's life is different, but I would say avoid being trapped.
Yeah.
In whatever it is, your work or your family or your property or your health or your stay free. Stay free mentally.
I think that's a really good point.
I think so too. And it is your perspective, right? We were talking earlier over breakfast that it's, being optimistic about your situation.
Yeah.
You're not always in the perfect situation, but remaining positive and optimistic, and that can just help you feel free.
Yeah. It came to my attention last night that my father passed away at the same age that I'm at now, and I'm not obsessed with that notion. I'm not depressed by it, but I am motivated to live in the now because we have no guarantees for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Amen, brother. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Tom.
Oh,
It's been
thank
great
you.
chatting with you.
Yeah.
That's a good point to end on.
Yeah, I think we should leave it there.
Yeah.